God will take us through if we can stand the pull. And boy, does this woman know it. Candy, come on in here. I've got to tell everybody all about you, just in case they're not up to speed. You haven't been here before, have you?
My daughter was here several years ago with Gloria Gaither.
She was just a little girl.
And they were talking about the children's homecoming videos, and Jasmine came here with Gloria. Now, I was just a bystander on the outside of the set there.
And that little girl, Jasmine, is all grown up, and she wrote the song you just sang.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Quite a little writer.
You are like music aristocracy.
Oh, wow. I
really
know about that. Thank you.
Just a 23 Gaither homecoming tours.
Right.
And a very famous family,
yes,
the Hemphills.
Yes, the Hemphills.
And even I know about Aunt Vestal.
Aunt Vestal, yeah.
And she was the one that waved the hanky.
Yeah, and Uncle Howard and Aunt Vestal, and they've both gone on to be with the Lord now. But it was a real thrill to be able to travel with them for several years before they passed away, and it was a real gift from God to my life to be able to do that in their twilight years. So, quite a heritage, yeah.
Some DNA. You say I was born into a record deal.
Yes, I was born into a record deal, and my parents were traveling when I was a kid, and I decided that I'd better learn how to sing, or I was going to be left with a babysitter for the rest of my life. So I decided that I would learn to sing.
And get on the bus.
Get on the bus, yes.
Now, and this, you have previous CDs. You've got, I'm sure, a mantle of Dove Awards.
Yes.
How did you end up in the pit of depression?
Well, I think anytime that we get our focus off of Jesus Christ and our purpose in Him, and get our eyes on ourselves, and in my situation, I came to a place that I was groomed to be a gospel singer, and
there's got to be performance pressure.
Yes,
you've got such a heritage.
Well, I had my first single released when I was 13 that went to the top of the gospel music charts, and so I was, groomed by my parents to be a crowd pleaser, if you will. And so you come to a place, or I did in my life, where there was no success that was enough. I couldn't be thin enough. I couldn't be beautiful enough. And as I saw myself getting older, then I became more hard on myself. And one doctor's study that I read says that one form of depression is anger turned inward. And so I think to a certain extent I was angry that I was not more than what I had become. And so I kind of was cannibalizing, if you will, on my own self. And so, which led to depression, and I found my weight plummeting to about 100 pounds, and I went to the doctor, and he diagnosed me with severe depression. And from that point, my brothers and my husband came in the office and began to cancel my concert tours, and I went to bed. And
for how long?
Wow.
How long was the dark place?
It was a very, very long time. I call it my dark night of the soul. And it is, if you've ever suffered from depression, and we talked earlier that you know somewhat about depression and suffered it, it's a very, very dark place. And once you start in that downward spiral, then it just kind of sucks you on down in. And there was darkness that I cannot even explain to you. And of course, I was raised in a Christian home, so suicide was not an option, right? And I had small children at home at the time, well, young children. And so I couldn't die, but I couldn't live. So I was just suspended on this earth, going through the motions like a zombie, trying to be a mom and a wife, and shield my kids from the darkness that I was actually going through. So it was really a tough thing. And
the Lord sent such an unusual life ring for you.
Yeah, yeah.
I think this should be a movie. I'm just going to say it right here. It is such an amazing and beautiful story.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I prayed many times that the Lord would let me die. I asked Him, because I couldn't die by my own hand. So I asked God many times. I lay out on the floor and I'd beg Him, Lord, please let me die. And God is so good. He's so faithful. The little boy said, oh, the Lord works in mischievous ways, His wonders to behold. And He did let me die. The Candy Christmas that once lived died. And what does the word say? That I'm crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live, but yet not I, but Christ in me. And so there was a new dawning in my life.
You died to yourself and to all that performance pressure and everybody else's
Yes.
idea of what you should be.
Yes.
Including your own.
Including my own. And I told the Lord, well, I was raised in a kind of a denomination where everything was the devil. You know, this has to be the devil, this darkness and whatnot. And I can't say whether it was or not, but I know that I was having a struggle with God's will and my will. And the day that I submitted to God's will, and I told the Lord, I said, whatever your will is, I will do it. Then there was a change in me. My will wanted to be on a stage and flying all over the world and on Christian television and whatnot. But God's will was under a bridge somewhere that I had not seen. And
Now, was it an elderly minister
yes.
who came calling?
Well, he was a lay minister, and he was actually laying tile in a friend's home. A friend of mine was building a home, and I went to see the new home, and he was there on the floor laying the tile. And he could see that I was in pretty bad shape, and I was pretty frail. And so he said, you know, I feed homeless people under a bridge. He said, I've been roasting hot dogs for them. He said, you look like you could use a pick-me-up. Would you like to come? And I said, sure. You know, I had known for many years that I would feed the homeless, but I've never known where they were, okay?
Really?
Yes. I would drive around in the car and talk out loud to God and say, Lord, I don't know where they are. They're not in my church.
The homeless.
The homeless. Where are they? So after I submitted to God's will for my life, and let me just insert this too. There are many reasons for depression, okay? And I know that medication was not the route that I decided to take, but I think that you have to do what you have to do to get through. And so you have to be wise, okay? For me, God was leading me on to a new faith, and I had to recognize that, okay?
Right.
And was it easy? No. But it was a journey that could only be walked through prayer, right? So when I came to this place in my life of submission to God's will, then the Lord brought this older gentleman into my life.
And this man took you under a bridge
Yes,
in Nashville,
yes,
and you immediately, you say you felt at home.
I did. I really did.
There's no glitz or glamour there.
No, and they don't care who you are. They don't care how you're dressed. They just want to know, when I began to share the gospel, they didn't care what denomination, what Bible I'm teaching
You didn't
out
even
of.
need to sing.
No, no. As a matter of fact, for the first 6 or 8 months that I was under the bridge, they never even knew my name. They called me Jambalaya because that's what I cooked. And so, hey, Jambalaya, how are you? And that was my name, and I was fine with that.
You are Louisiana born,
Yes, I am Louisiana.
and that's one of the things you love to cook.
Yes, and I can cook it in any size pot for any size crowd, right? And so that was the thing that I chose to I made Cajuns out of those homeless people. I sure did.
Wow.
But
And you were so immediately inspired. I mean, you went to Walmart and started buying coats.
yeah,
I mean,
instantly.
there's a lot of homeless people there, but
Right. Well, there was, I had purpose, and all of a sudden, I mean, looking back, I see that instantly my eyes were off of me, off of Candy.